Good evening. Welcome to this month's webinar, What's New in EdTech, presented by the North American Cambridge Classics Project and underwritten by Cambridge University Press. We are so delighted to have Stefanie Gigante back with us this evening as our guest presenter. Stefanie has done several webinars for us, and she is also a regular presenter at our annual CLC Summer Workshop. Stefanie presents frequently at conferences regarding technology integration and language classroom best practices. She teaches at Ridgewood High School in New Jersey, and she's also an NACCP board member. She's a certified Google and Pear Deck trainer and a technology innovation specialist in her district. And she definitely knows everything there is to know about tech. And we are so excited to have her this evening to share with us what's new this year. So as most of you already know, we do record these webinars. And if you need a professional development certificate, if you'll just email us at training@cambridgelatin.org, we'll get that out to you very quickly. So on that note, Stefanie, we'll let you get started.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Martha. So I'm excited to be here. As Martha gave you some of my credentials, I am a tech specialist. And so, when we were thinking about webinar topics, I realized, in the last few years, there have been a lot of real interesting developments when it comes to educational technology. And I've presented some past webinars on the topic, but I thought, we could do with an update just to see what else is out there, and to start, thinking about how you could reframe it. And so one of the reasons that I chose to do the webinar in January was because I feel like in January everyone has this collective social model of renewal and resolution, and we're going to try something different, new year, new you, and all that. So I thought this was a good time to introduce to you some new tools, and to see if we could have some fun with it. So let's see here. Without further ado, let me get my slides up on the screen. Oh, I'm going to put in the chat, if I can find the right window. This is my presentation, so feel free to access it on your own time. Sometimes it takes a little while to marinate some of these ideas and to, make meaning of it for yourself. So feel free to circle back with me at any point in time and say, and I've had people who've emailed me a couple of years after webinars and said, hey, you mentioned some project, can I have a copy of it or something? And I'm always more than happy to oblige. So my contact information is in that, the link that I just sent you. So let's get going. All right. So you're going to see that what's new in EdTech is the topic of conversation. Stefanie Gigante. Martha gave me such a stellar introduction already that I don't really need to say too much. So a little bit about me. I just want to make sure. So I'm on a new computer this time. And I haven't used a Mac in a while, so I'm kind of getting reacclimated with what Mac has to say and do. So a little bit about me. This is my 21st year teaching. This year I'm teaching, I mean, we teach 5 classes at my school. I have 4 freshman level Latin 2 classes. And then I have 1 section of Latin 5 honors, which is a classical cinema class. So my current class of seniors, they didn't really want to do AP this year. And so we designed a brand new curriculum for them of classical cinema, and we've been having quite a ball. I even posted about that in Latin Teacher Idea Exchange on Facebook. So if you're a part of that group, you might have seen it already. And if you're interested and have further questions about how I designed the class, because it is a Latin-based class, which is kind of a unique approach for a film class, but I'm happy to have a separate conversation with you. This is my 10th year as a tech innovation specialist in my school district. And I do also have time to have 2 kids, a dog who is much more of a cat, and a husband who's definitely more of a husband. So a quick disclaimer, as we start getting underway and looking at a variety of different EdTech things, I want to say off the bat, I'm actually not going to be talking about AI in tonight's session. I know AI is a really, really profound concept. It's a really important concept for all of us who are in education in the 21st century. And I do believe that it is definitely worth a conversation for us to have as teachers within the North American Cambridge Classics project. However, I feel like I couldn't do AI justice in a 1 hour session in addition to presenting on a bunch of other topics. So I hope to be, my colleague and I are putting forth a proposal to present about AI at the ACL Institute in Tucson in June. So if it gets accepted, you'll start to see some of those details come out. We won't find out until the end of February about that. And then I'm working with both Martha and Ginny to present a standalone workshop in our summer workshop series about AI. Because again, I do want to make sure that there are so many AI apps, there's so many AI applications, and how we can use it in the classroom. And I want to make sure that we really pay it as much attention as it deserves. And I think the only way to do it is not to smush it in with a bunch of other things that I'm going to show you tonight. So I do want you to know, like, I am aware of AI, and I know, coincidentally, Maureen Lamb of the American Classical League, she's actually presenting through Ready and through the ACL tonight at the same time on AI. So, I mean, thanks for choosing me, but you really didn't have to. All right, so let's talk first about one of my favorite ed tech developments over the last couple of years, and that is Canva. And Canva is the answer to one question on everyone's mind, which is, I really like your slides template. Where'd you get it? I assume that's on everyone's mind. But Canva is a really, really amazing graphic design software for people who are not graphically design inclined, myself included. There are so many ready-made templates for you on Canva to do any kind of creative project, either for yourself or for your students. There are presentation templates, there are posters, there are infographics, social media templates, branded images and color schemes. And of course, well, not of course, but it is completely free for school districts. You just have to like get your school district kind of like associated with it, if you will. So I'm going to share with you ultimately some applications for Canva. But first, I want to kind of take you to the Canva homepage. I'm going to switch my screen that I'm presenting from, though, so you can see. So this is what Canva looks like. And I'm just going to go ahead and minimize that Zoom window there. You can just see right off the bat that there's a ton of different ideas. Now, if you just click on the heading of doc or whiteboard or Instagram story, it's going to give you a blank document. Now, you might be like, well, that's not going to do me any good because I still don't know graphic design. We got you. If you go to projects, you'll see all of the projects that you've made. Or you go to templates and you can choose from a variety of different templates. And just to kind of give you an idea of what templates they have available, they have doc templates, they have social presentation oriented templates. So these are the slide decks that I've used, brainstorming, game presentations. There are social media templates. There are, and there's an arrow over here so you can keep scrolling. There are video templates that you could make, print products. That's kind of how Canva makes its money to be able to afford public school districts or school districts, I guess, the opportunity to collaborate. Because anything that you create on Canva, you can also purchase. So you can purchase brochures, you can purchase flyers from them, and they'll print them and ship them to you. But there are ways of just downloading your own stuff and just printing it right from Canva. So let's see here. I want to show you under templates too. If you go to education, you can filter it by subject, by grade level, by resource type, etc. So if I click on design, for example, this is a whole host of templates that they have that are specifically geared toward design. And underneath everything, it says like what type of medium it is. So this is a presentation template. This is a flashcard template. They do graphic organizer templates. They do posters and infographics, book covers. This is an infographic. So the infographic looks like kind of just a long document. You can create an infographic that looks long, and you can print it like that. Or in our school, we have like a big giant color printer. You may have the same type of luxury in your school, but I've actually printed some classroom posters, and I've just sent my design to the IT department, and they print me this gorgeous thing to have in my classroom. So you can print it like 8.5 by 11 size though too. So I just want to let you know you have options. There are labels that you can print, and this is just under, it's a little, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little overwhelming. I would generally advise you, when it comes to something like Canva, there are so many options for you. Have an idea of what you want to do by the time you get to Canva, because otherwise it's like shopping in a grocery store on an empty stomach. You want everything. Everything looks delicious. Everything looks like you could throw it together for dinner. And yes, that's the same thing for Canva. So just kind of have an idea of like, okay, I want a template. I want to have a wintry theme to it. And I want it to have, certain elements to it, because that'll help you to kind of narrow it down right off the bat. As I go home and I go to my own recent designs, you can kind of you can see a few things. The ones that say view only, these are student projects that they have created through Canva and submitted to me. So that's why I only have view only access. But the very background that you are looking at on my Zoom, that also was a Canva creation. This is my presentation that you're looking at tonight. This is an AI thing that was shared with me. So again, it's view only. This is a poster that I have in the classroom that focuses on the students' habits of work that kind of give them an idea of how they're going to get participation points. This is, I can show you a larger version of it, but when my last year's AP exam was coming up, I made a flyer to advertise some separate reviews that I did for the students outside of the standard school day. So, you can do like super colorful and engaging things. I made a presentation for my current seniors to use to advertise the new classical cinema class to the juniors as an option for them next year. And what I did was I selected this slide template that was cinema oriented. I let all the students have editing access to the template as a whole. The original template had, I think it was 20 different types of slides. And I just said, okay, everybody in this classroom, it's a small class, we only have 8 students, but I said, okay, everyone choose a slide that they want to edit and that they want to, share their piece with. So it's kind of like in Google Slides where everyone can edit the same document. The same thing goes here, but with the template, they had a lot of options to choose from. So this is what they did with it. And I mean, they each did one slide. I would say that their one slide maybe took them 15 minutes or so, because you're really just kind of plugging in your information and then just watching the beauty happen in front of you, because they have all of these color schemes all ready to go. Going back to the things that I have, so my students did timelines about Cleopatra recently. They did that as a project, so you can see all of that. There are social media templates. I used it for personal purposes too. These are some Christmas presents that I gave to my family. So again, but it's really easy to kind of find something and, dump your information into, and you get something that looks really, really nice at the end of it. I coach the Kurtaman team at my school. We've been doing some knowledge building exercises, and I used some of Canva's graphic organizing templates, and I'm just having them create mind maps essentially, to kind of deepen their knowledge about like individual topics. So a quick note, you guys might have seen, and you're seeing right now, some kind of interesting pictures. You're like, why does she have a panda in her Canva? Although I did specifically say that I wasn't going to introduce AI tonight, I do want to show you that Canva's got AI in like a really easy kind of entry-level way to use AI. And that is that Canva offers AI-based images. It's actually a really cool process. In any Canva design, so I'm just starting from a blank doc just so that you can see. But I did want to show you what this process looks like because I wanted you to be able to sort of like let your imagination take you away. I actually showed this to my students this year, and the projects that they made with it were really, really cool. So when you go to apps, you can go down to AI powered apps and Magic Media. So they do technically, like the paid subscription to Canva, the one that school districts don't have, they will eventually have a text to video. So you can write in something, it'll make you a video of whatever length. But right now they have text to image. So I'm just going to throw out a random phrase, Roman man walking with a panda, because I have pandas on the brain now. And I mean, really forever, because they're so dang cute. Whatever phrase you want to write, and then you can choose what style. So you could do an anime based like cartoon thing. You could do something that's dreamy. You could make it look like a photo. You can make it look like it belongs in a film or like a watercolor. So I'm going to do something that is filmic, imagining a film about a Roman man walking with a panda. I'm going to click generate image. It takes a few seconds because, you know, AI, it's powerful and it's really cool, but it does take a little bit of time to process. So it gives you 4 images to choose from. And this is important when it comes to AI because essentially we humans who are using AI, we're teaching AI. And we're saying, okay, when I put in these words, this is the closest image that I think embodies these words. So if I had to say it, I would say that this guy is the closest to a Roman in terms of what he's wearing, walking with his panda. And all you do is click it, and there you have an AI generated image of a Roman guy, nice cobblestone street, right? Like pretty authentic stuff, and then a panda. So you can make it really silly. You can make it really authentic to a story. And there are a lot of different directions that you can take this. So going back to the presentation. Okay. There we go. So a couple of applications for you in Canva, just kind of generally speaking with Canva as a software. One of them in Amor Omnia Winkit, which is that epically long story in stage 22. So it's that 3-scene story. So my students just did a project about Amor Omnia Winkit, and each group had a scene. So we broke it down into 3 different groups, 3 scenes, and then their job was to film like individual videos as though those videos were on a social media platform like Instagram. And because Canva has such incredible templates, I had a lot of kids who used Canva generated templates in order to tell their Instagram story. And those templates are like robust, they're ready to use, and they do look a heck of a lot like the Instagram source that they're from, or Snapchat, or whatever their social media of choice is. I showed you AP review, I showed you habits of work, and then the one thing that I didn't show yet is Britannia Perdomita, which is a stage 23 story, which you can tell is also kind of coming down the pike, if you will. So this is, let's see here, okay, new share, I have to go back to the other window. I'm kind of balancing a bunch of windows tonight, sorry. So in Britannia Perdomita, it's right after the assassination attempt on King Cogidubnus, in which Cephalus gives him a poison cup that Memor has been ordered to kill Cogidubnus with. And then it's a conversation between Salvius, Memor, and then Cogidubnus. So what I did was I created a slide template in Canva, and I was able to use a variety of different characters. And each of these characters will represent, some of the speech. So I'll show you, this is just the instructions for the assignment. This is, what the slave was saying in lines 3 to 5. So I'm really asking them to summarize then the Latin, right? So you don't have to translate, but just, if you were the slave or if you were directing this as a production, what would the slave say? What would their lines be? And then Memoir says something in line 6. So this is a speech bubble for Memoir. How does Salvius respond in lines 7 to 9? In lines 12 to 14, Cogidovnus has a response, and here's a speech bubble ready for him to go. And then Memoir, in these lines, responds in a certain way. Coggy Bear, we call him Coggy Bear because he's a cute little endearing old man. He responds in lines 17 to 21. So ultimately, I created this as a template. And then what I do with my students is that I share, and then I can say, not just anyone with the link can view, but you can create it so that each student gets their own design. So I changed the link, and then I can link it to Google Classroom. See, I can make it an assignment here. And then when it becomes an assignment, that's when it links up to Google Classroom. So where should students submit work? Should they submit it to me on Canva or submit it to me on Google Classroom? If you're a Microsoft district, they got you covered too. And then if you wanted to share it as a new design for each student so that it has the same template properties that any assignment on Google Classroom does. So it's, Martha Altieri hyphen Britannia Perdomita Ginny Blasi hyphen Britannia Perdomita. And that way it kind of standardizes the assignment for each of the students too. So you can link it to your Google Classroom and away you go. And there are so many amazing applications of Canva. So I do hope that you'll look into it, especially because it's free. And I really do love when companies offer stuff for free, because I feel like they really understand that teachers, we need free stuff. Because as a profession, we're all underpaid and overworked and we need resources. And I appreciate when companies kind of, reach out to us like that. Okay, so back to the presentation. Okay, so that was Canva. Now you might be thinking, wow, Canva looks cool, but there's a lot going on there. And there is, you're right. Maybe you just want slide templates. Maybe you just want an opportunity to look at different slideshow templates and make use of just those without having to kind of deal with the mountain of other opportunities that Canva gives to you. So in the presentation, you'll see a link to Slides Go, which is a free template software. When you find a template that you like, and I'll show you how to do this, you can download it either as a Google Slides template or a PowerPoint template as well. Slides Go, just so you know, it is a freemium model, which means some of their templates are free and some of them are premium too. So if you want to search for a template, like look at that, trending search Greek gods, there are 15 different templates. The ones that have this little crown here, that's for the premium people of the world. Oh, whoops, I'm so sorry. I just realized I'm not sharing that window currently. I'm so sorry. Okay. This was Slides Go, which was the first website that was mentioned there. So this little crown that's here, that's only for premium people. And, teachers, like we're not paying for a lot of stuff, right? And respectfully, especially not slides templates, right? Like out of all the things you're going to shell out money for, it's not going to be slides template, especially when you have so many free options available to you, right? But one that is free, like this Apollo one, there's no crown on it. And you can go through the slides here and kind of get a preview of what it is. And then when you're ready to make your choice, you click on it and then you click download this template. And you can either do it, as I said, as a Google Slides or a PowerPoint. It'll save, excuse me, to either your Google Slide Deck or Google Drive or your Microsoft, is that what you call it, OneDrive, Microsoft people? Yeah, OneDrive. All right, the other option for you is Slides Mania. So Slides Mania, again, it's the same concept, but all of Slides Mania is free. So you get like a whole host of different options from both. And sometimes some of the slide decks can be a little like, they're a lot. So it depends on what you want and what you might want. What's the goal of having a slides presentation, right? I went to creative templates and it gave me so many, but like, look, it's a cool Halloween themed template. There's an art history themed template. Let's see here. Joyful free slides, old maps, history lesson. I mean, there's so much that we can use, and you probably don't even have to edit too much. When you get to a deck like this and you decide, that's the one for me, that's the one that I want to teach this particular story through or something like that, then you can open in Google Slides, and it's just going to ask you if you want to make a copy of the template. So you click Use Template. You can also preview the slides like you could on the other site. I'm just kind of showing you how to make it work for yourself. So here's the template, and you can just customize everything. And you can also like, I really like the way that this slide is laid out. You can obviously just like duplicate it 100 times in your Google slide deck. One quick tip for you, if you find a template that you like from one of these two websites, not from Canva, but from either Slides Mania or Slides Go, my tip to you would be, instead of just like diving right in and editing the slide deck to become the lesson that you want to plan, instead rename it, Little Prince template. Okay. And then keep your template as your template. And then just make a copy of it. And then you can call it, the Britannia Perdomita slide template. So now you keep the template as is, and then you can edit it for that specific story or lesson that you want to do. So that's just like a little quick tech tip. One of the perks of organizing your stuff like that, let's say I didn't have a preset Britannia Perdomita thing, and I started out and I'm looking at a blank piece of paper. Nothing worse than a blank piece of paper, right? It's like, what do I do? How do I teach this particular lesson? It's actually fairly easy then to go File, Import Slides, and then you can do a search. Or, I mean, right now it's recent to me, but you can do a search for any kind of template that you might have, and it'll give you the template slides. You click Insert, and then you can select which of the original templated slides that you want to use for your presentation. You might select all of them, or you could just select like a handful of them and say, okay, well, I don't want to have too much of the dark blue. I want to have some of the yellow slides too, right? So you can kind of customize it too. So that would just be kind of a tip of how to use them, I think, in a more effective way overall. Okay, so next, classroom management. So it's not something that we talk about, especially after we get to a certain point in our career, right? We kind of have our ways, and we have our routines, and we have things that work for us. But there are tools out there to help you do things in a potentially more effective way. So I'm going to show you a couple of these things. Classroom Screen being one of them. All right. So with Classroom Screen, there are free accounts and then there's a paid account, but I assure you, you can definitely get by with just a free account. All right, so I'm going to log into Classroom Screen, and basically it is a background screen that you can use on your projector. And then it controls a lot of the workflow that you have for any given day. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new screen. The new screen that it gives me happens to be the Great Wall of China, and that is super cool. But we don't teach Chinese. So you can always customize it. So you can go to background. If you have the premium account, you can upload background pictures and just use them continuously. I don't, because I can just upload something like for free on the regular. So this is my Nile mosaic background because we're talking about Roman Egypt today. So it just makes sense to use something that's sort of pertinent to that. So this is right now, hypothetically, the background that you have on your projector in your classroom. Now, what does this give you then, right? It gives you access to a quick poll, so a quick polling software for your students. There's a little information about how to vote in this particular poll. You can do a multiple choice poll, smiley poll, true false poll, and then be done with it. So like, well, which story should we read today, right? And then you kind of give them some choices. You can do a randomizer, and the randomizer uses whichever class list. I've preloaded one of my classes in here. You can do the same. That information stays even if you have the free account. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the randomizer is. So I choose which list I wanted to randomize. I wanted to randomize period 7. I close out of randomizer. And now I'm calling on Ryan. And for number 2, the answer should be provided by Morgan. So you can kind of just keep this at the ready so that when period 7 comes in, the randomizer is already ready to go. And they just know that, you know, the randomizer is always up and like running, for example. You can also track sound level in your classroom. Right, so I just hit max noise, and you can kind of toggle it to change it so that you can say like, okay, I want you to quietly discuss this with your partners. And then you have a certain noise level so that, you know, the kids understand what quietly means versus what, you know, yelling across the room and, you know, announcing last night's sports scores, right? There's a difference there. Image is really just kind of giving an image beyond just what the background is here. Text, you could provide something and say, you know, Roman Egypt day 2, right? So this is just kind of the title of what you're doing. But you can also, I'm actually going to skip work symbols for a second. You can do a timetable. So timetable is a schedule for the class, and you can add different activities that are timed, and you could say, okay, we're doing a reading comprehension activity for 10 minutes. And then after that, we're going to do a vocabulary activity for the next 10 minutes. And then we're going to do some culture reading for 20 minutes. Right? So now the kids have a timetable. So as soon as they come into the classroom, they know the bell rings, and from 8 to 8:10, we're doing a reading comprehension activity. And then from excuse me, 8:10 to 8:20, we're doing a vocabulary activity, and so on and so forth. So if you know, if you're so inclined, I mean, not everyone is quite this disciplined, I guess, in terms of like making plans for your students and timing and stuff like that. But if you have things ready to go and you have like an established structure to your class, this is actually a really great feature to have. Once you have a set number or a set timetable for things, you can always reuse those timetables too in future classes. That's not a premium type of feature. For work symbols, these are a little bit elementary, but you can still use them in the context of classroom screen so that you can kind of change it and say, okay, since we're doing the reading comprehension activity right now, we're doing it in silence. And then when we do vocabulary, it's going to be an ask a neighbor situation. So you can kind of toggle the students with a visual cue in addition to giving them that oral instruction. Traffic light, again, a little elementary. Maybe you're an elementary teacher too, so maybe this tracks for you. But you can also say, okay, you have 10 minutes to go over the vocab words from this story, right? You turn on the traffic light, it's 8 minutes, so now the yellow light's on, and then red light, stop. We're going to stop that conversation. And if you're wondering, well, how am I going to keep time? Don't worry, background screen's got you covered. Here's a timer, just let it go, and you really don't have to do any maintenance at all. And then there's also just, a clock too. Now, you click more, and again, you're like, oh man, there is so much here. So eat sparingly, sprinkle the salt when you can. There are a lot of different things that you can use with Classroom Screen. And once you really start getting into it, I think it's a really good activity to use. And it's a good thing to sort of orient your daily classes around having this always accessible. And I do want to mention too, so if you have something like this projected on your projector all throughout class, right? That's a long time. And during some of those moments, you need to be, responding to a parent email, or you need to be taking attendance or putting in grades or something like that, right? Almost all projectors that I've ever seen, on the remote, there's a freeze button. So just click freeze and it'll freeze whatever this background screen is. And then you can go behind the scenes, behind the freeze, do your attendance, and then you can come back to the background screen and unfreeze the screen when you're all ready to go. It's a little harder to do that when you have a timer running, but you could also just let the timer run out and the sound will still carry through the speakers of your projector, but the students won't be able to see. And that way, if you're still in the middle of putting in those grades, when the timer goes off, no one sees that, your other class is acing their last test or something like that. All right, so that is Classroom Screen. In the same vein, but not exactly the same, is bouncy balls. I really love bouncy balls. It's so cute. Bouncy balls is a noise measuring solution for your classroom. So you click begin bouncing and you're given a bunch of balls. And you can either do like plastic balls like that or emojis. You can have fun with it. You could do numbers, right? Anyway, so you can do this, and then I'm going to make my microphone like really, really sensitive. Let's see here. I don't know if it's not going to do it. Well, you have to kind of, you put bouncy balls on your projector. And when the noise level gets too high, the balls start like bouncing up and down and like going out of control. So the kids can kind of like monitor their volume like that. Did I turn it off? Is that why? Oh, that's why. Ah, okay. I turned up the sensitivity. So it's a fun little activity. It helps kids to sort of modulate their voices. It helps them to keep their voices in a more stable way. And it helps you to kind of keep the conversation in the classroom to a dull roar, as they like to say. Similarly, I'm going to lower the sensitivity. Similarly, if you wanted to have students present something and kind of like in sort of a competitive way, right? So who had the best video of a video recreation of this story, right? So you read a story in class, and then each group has like 10 minutes to put together their own like filmed recreation. And then you vote. And the way that you vote is you clap. And the more vociferous clapping and hooting and hollering, the higher the bubbles will go. And the higher the bubbles go, the more likely the person is to become a winner. So you can kind of just have some fun with it. Aren't bouncy balls super cute? You could also do bubbles, which I think is super fun. And bubbles, because, physics, they actually start at the top and they work their way down instead of the other way around. And if it's a Halloween kind of theme for your lesson, you can do eyeballs too. Or if it's like a particularly compelling mythology lesson that you're doing, because Roman mythology, right? It lends itself to eyeballs pretty quickly. Okay, and then the last thing I want to show you in terms of classroom management is called Teacher Stack. So Teacher Stack is a really cool app. It allows you to do a few different things, but the one thing that I really want to show you is station rotation. So you might use stations in your classroom. I love being able to. I haven't done it this year because we have a different schedule this year, and things are just kind of a little like off. So I really want to get back into doing stations again. But Teacher Stack allows you to do station rotations like really quickly and easily. So you can, I mean, I just call this Latin 2. You could call this, just your period 2 class if you really wanted to, or, you can kind of customize it from there. Well, you can assign students to groups, or you can just do a randomized assignment. I'm going to do a randomized assignment. I have kind of like a random list of student names in here, and then it'll assign students to groups that you'll see in 1 second when I show you how to do it. So with student groups, you have a certain number of groups. You could have more than just 4. You could have 5, 6, 7 groups. You could have pairs of kids. You could do whatever you in any way you want. And then here's the schedule for the stations. So maybe you have 4 stations in like an hour-long class, or like someone was just talking on our Facebook page about switching to a block schedule. So a block schedule is like, an 85, 90-minute class or possibly more, right? How do you use your time really effectively in a class like that? The easiest way to do that is to do a station lesson. So within the course of 90 minutes, maybe you take about 5 minutes to set up and 5 minutes to kind of talk about it afterwards. So now you're down to 80 minutes. If you do 4 20-minute stations, that's a really good lesson, and you're circulating the students through. You can kind of park yourself at one of the stations and be you could do some direct instruction at one of the stations for 20 minutes, or you can just do some reading and, do some sheltered reading with the students, or, be a support system to them. So you can customize these stations and you can call them whatever you want to call them. So maybe it's you're reading 4 different stories, or you're rereading 4 different stories in anticipation of a test, right? Maybe it's a test review station activity that you're doing. However you want to structure it, you can customize it within Teacher Stack. And then you can also choose, you can choose your transition music, obviously, but you can choose how long is each station going to be and how long is each transition time going to be. So I'm going to show you, once you get all of the settings to a place where you're comfortable doing it, you get to run it. So this is, imagine like this is a program, you've coded it, you've put in all the elements together, and then you run the program, right? So to run the program means this is what the kids are going to be looking at. This will be on your screen up on the projector. It tells you that these are the kids in group 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then it gives the kids a visual and color-coded approach to say, okay, for the first station, for the first 20 minutes of our class today, group 3 is going to be at the reading comprehension station. If you wanted to have it like the reading comp station was with you, you could title it as such. So reading comprehension with Magistra. And then you do a vocabulary station, a language review station, and a culture station. So then you say, okay, this is where you're all starting. Reading comp goes over there, vocab's over there, blah, 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 right? And then once kids have their place and their mission, you click start. And it gives you some very soothing music to kind of kick off the stations. And it keeps the time over here, which is really, really key, right? Because the kids often lose track of what's happening and like, oh, wait, how much more time do we have? I'm also going to fast forward to show you what happens. Let's say you realize, oh boy, this period ends a little bit earlier than I thought because we have that assembly afterwards. So instead, I'm only going to give each group 15 minutes instead of 20, right? So you can kind of fast track it like that. You can change it on the fly. And if you click start next transition, watch what happens. So hopefully I trained my sound right with my new Zoom program here, that you guys all heard that at the end of the last like 10 seconds of the station, it was you're done with that station music. And then there was transitional music. And then it tells the groups where to go and who's up next. And I also really love this strike through feature to say like, hey, you guys have already finished in this particular area. So this is definitely where you should be. So that's Teacher Stack in a nutshell. I'm a little worried about time, not gonna lie. I warned Ginny and Martha. I was like, I talk a lot. And here we are. So let's go back to the
Yes,
presentation.
but we think you say lots of good things, so we don't mind you talking.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Oh, so sharing content, two super quick, super easy things to do. Number one, creating and sharing QR codes with your students got so much easier with the latest iteration of Chrome. Any website that you want to make into a QR code, all you have to do, as you can see here, is go to the address bar of the site that you're on, and you just click create QR code, and it automatically drafts this QR code that looks like this with a cute little dinosaur in the middle, and you have a QR code for that particular page. It's so easy. I mean, I know, like I use QR code generating websites and stuff, and for some limited things, that's appropriate. But for this, I mean, it's just one click. It's so easy to use. This is a great generating thing too. If you do like scavenger hunts or other sort of like escape room type activities in your classroom, this will help you generate those QR codes for those activities really quickly and really easily. And then as soon as it generates this QR code, it downloads it for you. Super easy. Also, there's a browser extension in Chrome called Print Friendly in PDF. I love Print Friendly. I'm like OG Print Friendly. This was one of the first extensions I ever downloaded 10 years ago or whenever I learned about extensions for the first time. So if you have a website that you want to share with your students, but sometimes websites come with a lot of extra stuff, a lot of extra like videos and pictures and advertisements, especially advertisements, and you kind of just want students to get to like the heart of the matter, which is the article at hand, right? So you find like a really interesting article and you want your students to see it. So I'm going to actually show you how this works really quickly. Okay, so let's go to just a regular mainstream website here. I'm just going to go to a weather story to just keep it nice and neutral. If you decide that this article about Roman archaeology is your thing, right? You're looking through it and there's like all these other images and maps and stuff like that. And you're like, I don't care about that as much. I just have to, whoops, sorry, I just have to move my like zoom controls. Come on. There we go. Okay. So in my browser, I have this extension, Print Friendly and PDF. See, look how OG I am. It's like the third extension I have there. In Print Friendly and PDF, you just click it once. And then I hope that the share still, yes, you can still see it on the share. So it gives you like, okay, this is what the article looks like when we've, pared it down of all of those like other things that you don't want. And you can go through and you can actually say like, oh, well, this image is really important for the students to understand what they just found in Pompeii. However, this image, not so much. So you can just click it and it goes away. It's amazing. And then once you get the article down to a manageable size or shape or color or whatever, you just click PDF and it makes it into a PDF document for you. It's incredible. You just download your PDF. Now you can put it in classroom and have students read it and stuff like that. And then you don't have to worry about all those really, really distracting ads. It's really fantastic. Okie dokie. All right, let's see here. New share. Back to Canva we go. I need my own Canva here. Okay. All right, now it's the new year. You're thinking, okay, I want to be able to change up what I do. I want to be able to think outside the box and do some really cool and innovative stuff. I've got answers for you, my friends. And that answer is ditch that textbook. Ditch that textbook was started maybe like a decade ago or something by Matt Miller, who I believe was a language teacher. Either way, his whole campaign was, stop just teaching textbook things. Now, I love our textbook, right? And we all do. We love calculus, we love Grumio, we hate Salvius, all, combined collectively. But in his efforts to not just follow, standard textbook-based approaches, he developed this idea of ditching and doing innovative activities. So on his website, Ditch That Textbook, and this is linked to the presentation itself, there are a ton of templates that you can use to revitalize some of the maybe potentially tired activities that you already do in your class. So one of them is social media templates. And if you look at his social media templates, they're pretty accurate to what they are, right? So there's an Airbnb template. And if you saw on the slides that I had, that you could really quickly and easily do a project where you have students do an Airbnb advertisement for like the Palace at Fishbourne in Unit 2, or even Kaikilius's house, right? Maybe Kaikilius needs some extra cash, and so he's renting out his house on Airbnb. How would you describe that house to other people? What are the features of it that you would want, that you think are marketable or sellable to other people? You could create an app review in the App Store. It is geared toward Apple, so if you're not really an Apple fan, it is what it is. Or a Yelp review, right? You could Yelp review Grumio's kitchen, right? What about his dishes? Do you like the things that he cooks? Do you not like the things that he cooks? Or you could Yelp review your stay at the Airbnb that you stayed at. So there are a bunch of different directions that you can take this in. You could do a Spotify playlist. So you can look at the stories over the course of a particular stage, and as a culminating type of activity, you can say, okay, create a playlist that should be, that could tell the story of some of these stories, or be the background in some of these stories, and then explain why you chose some of these tracks. I did show you the Instagram story template that I used. That was from, or I shared with you the idea of the Instagram story. I had gotten that idea and activity originally from Ditch That Textbook. A YouTube template, so you could create a YouTube channel for Grumio. All the kids, they all love Grumio, right? So what kind of YouTubes is he watching? What kind of videos is he watching? Is he watching how to cook a peacock, or is he watching, like places to take your love in secret when your owner goes away? So like, what types of things might he be into? So you could use this for like a really deep character analysis, and really hit the kids in places that they understand and appreciate. Apparently there are Snapchat games. I don't have Snapchat. I'm like just at the cusp where I feel like I'm too old for it. My husband's family is really into it, and I'm sure they really want me to like join in their Snapchat fun. I don't know. Anyway, but the kids, they know the Snapchat. So you can kind of, again, meet them at their level and create Snapchat games. An Amazon product page. So you can talk about maybe if you are in a segment talking about like Roman toys and leisure activities and stuff, give them a product page. Or like the Strigolis at the bathhouse, right? Like have them create a product page for that. So there are a lot of different ways that you can use, and that's just social media templates. I mean, you see your options, they are endless, but I don't really have time. So I'm gonna move forward. Oh, also, yes, comic strip. Yes, there's a template for a comic strip. So you can make a comic strip out of anything. Conversations between Modestus and Strithio are the first thing that quite obviously come to mind, but as you know, there are options. Okay, there are two softwares for creating books. One of them is Book Creator. I know, you saw that coming, right? Book Creator is a really, truly fantastic software. It allows you to do collaborative book creation. It allows you to edit your books in a variety of different styles. You could make it like a comic book. You could make it this like square book or elsewhere. This is a sample of books that my students have worked on within the last like year or two. I have it all like in the same library. And I do want to show you one book in particular that might knock your socks off. This is one of my highest flying seniors. So just, to put that out there. This is her book about the myth of Apollo and Daphne. Like, look at how cool this is. So you can really, I think, quite easily use this to talk about, or to give an activity, retell this story that we just read in this particular stage, Or you could use it as like a culminating activity at the end of a stage to say, okay, we read 4 stories within this stage in groups of 4, create this story in a storybook format. See what the kids do. The book creator software, it has a lot of like default images that the students can use. It has like Greek guy, it has some like backgrounds and stuff like that. So you can really customize it to a lot of different things. And I think it's good that Book Creator is already kind of ahead of the idea that, students who are taking Latin classes, we need some ancient images, right? So Book Creator is one option. I will say Book Creator is a freemium type of software. I am fortunate enough to have the premium, the paid version. I have a free subscription to it because I'm a Google certified trainer. If you want to work up to become a Google certified trainer, you too can have a free account. Otherwise, there are paid plans for schools and for districts and stuff like that. If you're not so into the paid stuff, though, Story Jumper is a viable option for you. And Story Jumper is basically the same thing. You're creating a book. One of the other perks about Story Jumper, though, is that you can have Google Classroom synchronicity between the classes and the students that you have on Classroom, creating assignments on Classroom and having students submit it to Story Jumper. And then Story Jumper also has an additional perk, which is really quite cool. And that is, and I'm going to show you this book. I just made the cover. It's not like anything crazy, but you can buy the book. You can become a published author. This is kind of a cool opportunity for your students, especially if you have students who are very artistic or really profoundly interested in some of the storyline. If they really pull together a masterpiece retelling one of the stories, like maybe their retelling of Amor Omnia Winkit was just, chef's kiss, bar none, like your favorite thing, and they've done that, they have the option of buying that book now, and that might make an interesting present from them to you for a holiday, or from them to their parents to say, like, these are the cool things I do in school, or even you could purchase the book and make it part of like the classroom library to show it off as like an exemplar for future students. So I'm going, oh, right. So as far as pros and cons, the freemium thing, that's kind of a big like pro and con, right? And then, oh, we talked a little about that. All right, one quick thing, because I know I'm on borrowed time here. One last thing to consider. Out with the old and in with the new. There's Janice at the bottom of our screen. I regret to inform you that Google has discontinued Jamboard. Jamboard was a darling of the COVID shutdown. It's an interactive whiteboard software that allowed both students and teachers to collaborate in a whiteboard type fashion with images and post-its and text and things like that. And Google is discontinuing Google Jamboard. So effective October 1st, they're going to freeze all of your Jamboards and make them view only. And then you have from October 1st to the end of the year, I mean, you really have till the end of 2024 to adapt whatever you had in Jamboard to something else. So what's the something else? What are you going to do with all those Jamboards? I was never like a hugely devoted fan, but it definitely had its purpose. So there is something to take its place, and that's called FigJam. FigJam is free for teachers. You just have to verify or like authenticate your school email with FigJam so that they know that you're like a legit teacher, and then you have unlimited access. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's like it's not as easy as Jamboard, but Jamboard was very limited with what it could do. So in a sense, you're kind of getting an upgrade by only being able to go to FigJam, but FigJam it's a bit much. I think it's a different way of viewing things. It's a different way of planning things. It still offers you an interactive whiteboard type of situation, but it's going to take, I think, a little while of getting used to in terms of teaching yourself how to do it. So it's 8. I don't want to take too much more of your time. Did anybody have any questions that they wanted to bring up before we had to say goodnight?
Wow, that was a lot of information, and thank goodness you provide the link at the beginning because you are absolutely correct. Especially for someone who's no longer in the classroom, that just was a full hour of information overload. Yeah. Some really, really cool stuff out there, though. That's amazing. So Steph, I do have a question.
Mhm.
Do you attend conferences where you learn all of this, or does somebody come into your district and teach you about all of these new things that are out there?
Um, I do go to conferences to learn about things, not as frequently as I would like to, because, between being a teacher and having this double role in my district, I have a lot of things that do take me out of the classroom naturally, like field trips and stuff. So I try not to do too many conferences. So a lot of this is just self-taught and, things that I hear, things that I've seen, information that's shared. Like when I got the email about Google Jamboard, in the fall, I went to my network of tech coaches.
Hmm. Lost your audio.
Yeah, she's frozen. You back, Stephanie?
I'm back. Did I cut off at some point?
Yes, yeah, you just froze for a moment.
Oh, okay. So I network with other tech specialists in my district, and we talk about new software tools sometimes. But yeah, a lot of it's just sort of like keeping my ear to the ground and trying to stay on top of it as much as possible.
Well, really impressive and just another great webinar. Thank you so very, very much for sharing all those wonderful things that are out there. I hope everybody had enjoyed this session. And as we said earlier, we will post this on the NACCP website in a few days. And then Steph also provided the link for you at the beginning. And we hope you will give some of these new, fresh ideas a try in your own classroom. Thank you so much for attending this evening. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate you coming out tonight.
Good night.
Rest well. You've worked, you've earned it.
Wow. It's, yeah, I'm always in awe of everything that you do. It's just
Thank you.
it's amazing.
Thank you so, so much.
Yeah, yeah.
Not only do you know it, I think you do I've always thought this, you do a very nice job of making it accessible for people.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you.
yeah.
I try. Yeah,
Some people can be very
it's
know-it-all-ish and you sit there and you go, okay, you know a lot, but you bring it to a level where people can say, okay, I can do this.
Mhm.
well, thank you.
And
Yeah.
why I should do it too. And that's the other thing, you know. I mean, I would love those tools where you could set up the stations and the clock, that would have, I was doing all that the hard way with PowerPoint way back
You're writing
when.
it on the board and everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Or, little pieces of paper and, oh my
Mhm.
golly. No,
I mean, I'm just like, I was so frustrated that just as I was leaving, Google was becoming a thing and everything's, granted, I've done it with this stuff, but different world.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, again, thank you so very much. And we will be in touch probably within the next couple of weeks about the summer workshop, and we'll figure out how to get this AI presentation in as well, because I think that will definitely have a lot of value, especially after that one little thing that you showed us tonight. Oh my golly.
How cool is that? Like I couldn't show Canva without showing that because I thought if you know nothing else about I think that that's a really cool little nugget to be like, whoa, I can do that. So like my son loves corgis, and so he just types in all these corgi phrases, and Canva generates an image of a corgi jumping up with like a superhero cape on, and he's like, isn't it so cute? So like it's such a magical time to be alive when to be able to think about something and have an image created for you. I mean, the flip side obviously is that the art world is like really on edge about stuff like this with AI.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think it's the type of fear of like AI replacing artists per se, but it's not being able to tell authentically if that corgi jumping over the moon is a work of art or a work of AI,
Right.
Yeah.
and then the artist could be losing money from that. So,
So I'm on a group, it's called Catholic Geeks, and it's all people who like, Lord of the Rings and every other kind of fandom there is. But every once in a while somebody pastes something and says, "Isn't this so cool?" And someone says, "You do realize this is AI generated?" You
Mhm.
know, no, there was never a scene like that in the movie, or because they're all geeks, they know every movie, and
Mhm.
and I could see where that's going to be a piece of this too. On the
Yep.
other hand, can you imagine in time what we could generate about the characters?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Because
I wanted to take my kids into a holodeck and say, here we are in Pompeii during Roman times, walking through the house of, I mean, I know you can take them to Pompeii if they're lucky enough to have the money to go, but
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing about AI. It's learning as it goes. I mean, it's its own thing, which is frightening and weird and everything. But like it gives you the 4 images, and then based on the one that you choose, you're teaching the AI how to behave, which is like a weird concept when you get right down to it. So it's a very thought-provoking subject, and that's why, again, I feel like, I mean, imagine me trying to squeeze in AI tonight. Like it just,
Yeah. Yeah.
it would have had to have been like an AI webinar. And I didn't want to do that because I wanted to do like
I think it was
other
very wise of you.
cute little things. What's that?
I also think people are going to have a lot of questions and confusions, just like anything else. The New York Times last summer, I think it was last summer, did a 3-day, every day they have a news story they do a podcast on,
Mhm.
and they did 3 days on AI, and they talked about that training piece and how that's good and it's bad, because if people put a lot of stuff in that's kind of incorrect, you're telling it that that's correct information. Kind of
Mhm.
like when people started adding words to dictionaries for like language dictionaries, all of a sudden, like on a computer at school, my kids would say, but it says this word spelt right. Yeah, that's because
Mhm.
Mosey over there saved it as a right word.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
it's
Stephanie, have you
it's
have any other ideas about, stuff this summer, not that you would have to do it. Like I said to Stephanie Spalding, we'd love to tap your brains if, for things. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well,
Okay,
thank you all
well,
so much.
yeah, thank you. Thanks again. And I'll send you an invoice here shortly. And yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Martha,
Oh,
can you just stay on 1 minute, please?
sure.
Martha?
All
Okay,
right. Have a good evening.
you too. Good night.
So I was doing some of the editing to try to get this done before tomorrow. It's not working, but I'm getting closer. Um, just a general question. Well, in this story, Rex Spectaculum Dot, which has got a drawing and the kids are supposed to translate the whole story. I'm actually using, this is the one book I have, it's the one that has, it's like this,
Okay.
it's the whole story and they have to translate the pictures. Not the whole story, it's many sentences from the story. I have two questions for you. One, it's almost perfect, except towards the end of the story, lo and behold, now the twins come in. They're the dancing twins. I
Oh,
know, they're not mentioned by name. They don't have a role yet, but I've been a starring part. But and Salvia says, yeah, dinner's really great, but these twins from Italy, they don't call them dancing twins. They say the twins from Italy are boring me. Bring out the bear. Of course, that's not in the story. Salvia says, dinner's great, I'm bored, bring out the bear. We don't have a graphic of the twins. Can I just let this ride as is? Because it's close enough, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, I think so.
I do too. I do too. I just want to make sure. And then I'm not going to say, are you saying things that like, some of these have terrible graphics? Some things are black and white. I feel like it's before when it was something very obvious that I could say this should be this. I've been doing it. But if the whole page needs to be looked at, I'm not really, you
No,
know,
well, same thing with me. There was one really good exercise that had all those different objects, the urn and the chest and the
yes,
amphora,
yes.
blah, 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 blah. Well, none of that stuff is mentioned in 15. So I just said delete it. There were too many things that were not mentioned that were mentioned, and I thought this is not worth fixing.
So that one was singular and plurals, and originally I said, maybe I can bring this one up and this thing. Then I started looking at all the drawings. And I'm like, okay, this drawing isn't this character isn't here. And you know, frankly, I think there comes a point, like you said, if you're really passionate about the exercise, both of us have put the effort in.
Right.
The other one is, because so far the first two, I'm only doing the ones that I had access to do quietly. Bellimicus ultor, one of the sentences says, because it said this in the past, the king announced, and their choices, you know, a dinner and a show, a dinner or a gladiatorial game. In the new edition, his wife Katia is with him throughout the story instead of the little slave boy. And Katia, it says the king and the queen announced it. So I did say you have to make this one little edit, you know, but
Yeah, I had the same thing in, it was a story where they had, they took sentences out of order from the story and then had to put them in chronological order. And I was able to find most of the sentences. I did have to change a few, but same thing. It was the king only in a couple of the sentences in the original document. And I just went back and said, yeah, it's the king and Katya. So,
yeah, good. Okay, and then here's my last question. I'm just gonna take you to the fancy dancy chart. Okay, oh, that shouldn't be. Oh, what did I just do? Okay, that's in the wrong thing. See this color by, the color by thing is this thing. You
yeah,
know, it's like,
yeah, you're
and
right.
all those verbs still exist. I guess I didn't adjust my thing. They had it, they have it up here. I mean, they have it in civilization, and it should be in language,
Okay.
which is weird. I don't know why they thought that. But my question is, what do I call it? I mean, I think color by clue means absolutely nothing to me. I started to say tense matching.
Um,
You know, or tense, you know, and I think the worksheet itself should be renamed, or you could say tense, matching tenses. Uh,
yeah, so I saw that diagram. So are they just finding the various tenses on that color chart?
Says color the following shapes based on the English meaning on the clue sheet. And then the clue sheet says brown, I build, blue, I was dismissing.
Oh, okay, so it's really,
You're gonna come up with an image of some kind. I don't remember what it is, but I think I don't know what it is actually.
but
But
it's almost like translating tenses or,
yeah, they give you on the chart, okay, like I build, and then you have to go find Idaficio, I mean. And then somewhere else, and they're not all the same tense. They also have I built, and then you have to go find that one. So yes, you're given the English word you have, or I mean, I guess a kid could do it the other way around. They could look at I keep picking on Ida Ficavaram and say, oh, I know that, and see what color it says it should be.
right?
This would have driven me nuts as a student, but somebody else might have liked it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just say there's nothing wrong with it, so I don't think we should take it out. But
Just needs a better title.
how
Yeah.
about color my tense? No.
Well, that's not bad.
All right, how about color the tense?
Yeah, color the tense.
Or something like that, you know. There, and I'll change that on the
Right, right. Yeah, well, that's definitely better than what it was.
all right, that's pretty much as far as I got. I was trying to discreetly do it, and then Polly put her butt on the screen. I mean, it's like, Paul's,
Yeah,
really? Stop.
I get that.
Mom, I almost let you get through the whole thing without bothering you.
Well,
So now
well,
I have to be at the hospital at 6:30 in the morning. I
oh,
said,
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I hope you can get a good night's sleep and
well, that's why I was a little late, because you have to shower, tonight and tomorrow morning. I'm not showering tomorrow morning. I'm taking Dial and just doing my breast. I mean, this is the only part they need to have super, super duper clean.
And
But
they're gonna go over everything with alcohol anyway.
I know, but they said you need to shower tonight and tomorrow. I was like, really? And so they are dropping, I said to Marlene, I feel like we're going to the airport. She says, that'd be a lot more fun, but I don't know if I think I told you she had one set of windows that every time there's a storm, it's leaked on her house for like 6 months. And every time they came, they would do this ceiling and that ceiling, but nothing worked. So they finally got a lift, and they're actually going to put in new windows and reseal them. Of course, she still wants to be a little negative, though she's much better. I said, oh, you're going to feel so much better tomorrow night. She started to say, well, and she's, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that they're going to do a great job. You saved yourself.
Yeah, good, good.
And then Bobby's picking me up. Bobby got bad news today. It turns out she needs both hips replaced.
Oh, no.
Way back in the beginning, way when she was still like maybe teaching, she said, I think I'm gonna need to have both my hips replaced. But then all these other doctors, even the doctor she's gonna do it, who's one of my sister's good friends, said, oh, your hip's only like this bad. You probably go to 15 years. Well, 4 years later, the one hip, they're really concerned because it's bone on bone, but she's still going to Florida on Tuesday.
Well, I was just about to say, yeah, she told me that, yeah, she was gonna fly and Mike's gonna drive.
Yeah.
Thought,
Well,
oh my God, that's a hell of a long way to drive, but
see, Mike apparently told her finally, the reason he wants to drive to all these places is he's just done with airports after all those years of traveling. But
yeah,
now, this time he has to drive because he has to get Katie to Tennessee, to
and
Virginia.
then that'll give him a car once they're there for so long. Yeah.
He also drives like a maniac. He's one of those people that, so that cannot be helpful.
No.
Told me, and I said, was today your shot? She goes, no, and they're canceled. I'm like, why? And she said, this is why. Yeah.
Oh, so sorry to hear that. Oh,
I will tell you today, the thing that most I noticed all day long for me is, they told me absolutely no tugging, pushing, lifting, all that. And I started to think, oh, this thing of laundry detergent's heavy. Oh, this thing, now I'm not gonna do anything for 5 or 6 days probably, other than edit, maybe, my friend Donna finally said to me, you're not going to the symphony on Saturday, no matter how much you think you are. I was like, well, everybody says, yeah. But, Bobby said to me, make sure like you have little cans of soda, not the big bottle, little, it'll be what it'll be,
I know. Well, I will pray that all goes well tomorrow. I have every confidence that it will. And yeah, I won't bother you tomorrow, but I'll check in with you on Saturday to see how
Yeah.
you're feeling.
I have a list of people to text, so if I'm sane enough, I'll text. People say,
Okay.
have your sister call, but no, I'll text you all sometime in the next 24 hours. I mean, as I said, being there so early, and then the first procedure is to basically do a biopsy, but they put a lead in, which is like a very thin wire. So the doctor literally follows the lead in with their surgery. So she said, I don't want you to be skeeved, but it is going to be coming out of you, but it'll be taped down. I'm like, I don't care. Then you have a mammogram, a gentle mammogram to see that it's in the right place. And then after all that, you go off to the OR. So I'm hoping because I'm borderline diabetic, they decided I'm the first case.
Yeah, yeah.
So you figure if they do me at 8:30, 9 o'clock or 9:30, something like that. Bobby just asked me, what's the earliest? I said, I would think the earliest at all that they would let me leave is like 11:30,
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though I have high blood pressure, maintained high blood pressure, when I have anesthesia, I don't tend to, I tend to have a little, I don't want to say trouble. I take a little while to come back to my normal level. At least I have in the past. So we'll see.
Well, yeah. I have every confidence it's just gonna go just fine, and yeah, you'll
And
be,
did I,
when it's all over, you'll be glad, oh, I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
glad I dealt with this and it's done.
and they told me, I told you the MRI said there was a teeny little spot on the other breast.
Yeah,
And I said 6 months. I said they'll be lucky if they get another MRI in 10 months or something. But I also told you Polly has ringworm again.
yes.
Well, we've been zapping her with everything, and I have a spot on my leg, and I've been zapping that with everything because I don't want them to say, "Oh, you can't have this because of that." Yeah.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
But it's so weird, Martha. It's next to my knee, which is under the covers, under my pajamas. Why did that one spot get a red, circle? I mean, like, you could see if it was my hands or if she's rubbing her chin across. But the stuff they now have in me, which is what you sometimes dip a cat in, it's a sulfur product, lime sulfur, stinks to the high heavens.
Oh, I'll bet
I
sulfur.
made a container up. They wanted me to make a gallon up. I'm not making a gallon up. So anyway, poor Polly, when